I would like to talk in this night about three things related to the reading of this Vesper and the reading or the event we celebrated or we commemorated in the morning, which is the resurrection or the raising up of Lazarus from the dead. I would like to talk about three things. One, as I said, the raising up of Lazarus from the dead. Number two, Mary and the fragrant oil she poured on Jesus Christ. Number three, Judas, who complained about what she did. I'm going to begin by the first incident of the raising up of Lazarus from the dead after 4 days. How many miracles of raising up from the dead that Jesus performed? How many? How many people he raised up from the dead? One. 4. 3. 3. Who they are? The daughter of Jairus, and she was just dead. The people even thought she's not dead. Okay? She has just died. The second, the son of Nain, the son of the widow of Nain, or Nain, and this was carried to be buried in a tomb. And Jesus stopped the people and he raised the son of the widow. And the greatest among them is the raising up of Lazarus, a man who died for 4 days. They took the condolences, they made the wake, they did the funeral, they cried, they wept, they ate, they gave the condolences, they comforted each other, and everything is done. He has decayed. Even his body should have decayed. It degenerated. But Jesus, the life, by a word, he called him from the dead. In a miracle that has been never heard of, that someone would be raised from the dead after 4 days of death. Please, don't play with the song, with the poems. So, it has never been heard of that someone would be raised up from the dead after 4 days. The question I would like to meditate in about this, why the Holy Week starts by this event? And two, what is the indication of that? So, since the late 4th century, the church started to celebrate the Saturday of Lazarus, or Lazarus Saturday, since the 4th century. And it was put right at the end of the Holy Land and the beginning of the Holy Week for one reason. Because the raising up of Lazarus from the dead is a replica, is a little model of the power of Jesus Christ over death, which he will experience himself on his body by raising himself from the dead. We always compare between the people who were raised up from the dead and between the resurrection of Jesus Christ. What are the differences? One, Jesus rose up from the dead by his own power. The people who were raised up from the dead were raised by the power of God. The resurrection of Jesus Christ wasn't for another death, but Lazarus rose up from the dead in a great miracle, but he died again. Jesus rose up from the dead with the glorified body, the body we are expecting in his second coming, when he will raise up all the dead. But Lazarus rose up from the dead with his material body, his physical body, not the glorified one. So the church put this incident or this miracle to remind us that Jesus has the power of life. And what brought death from the very beginning? Sin. And what is sin? It's a daily experience we are going through. Who hasn't sinned today? Can someone raise it? I need to show of hands. Not my hand. Okay? Sin that brought up death is a daily experience of each and every one of us. And we are suffering from that. How many of you or of the people, of the Christians, of the Copts, don't want to confess because they cannot do it? Because there is hidden things they cannot reveal to anyone. How many people are confessing, but still there is some stuff cannot be revealed? And how many they have things they cannot reveal to anyone? They will look very bad. And I think we feel that we are under the bondage. We know that we don't like stuff we do, but we still do it. And we don't know how to get rid of it. And we wish that someone would give us a sermon and would tell us, I'm going to give you 10 steps. If you did them today, you're going to lose weight. I was doing a quick search about 10 steps. I found many 10 steps of everything. I don't have the phone now, but I was taking a picture of just on Amazon. I put 10 steps. 10 steps to heaven, 10 steps to Christ, 10 steps to fast reading for college students, 10 steps, 7 steps of... But is there a 10 steps to get rid of sin? Hopefully someone would find that. Someone would find that. But there is one, and only one. It's not a step. He is a person who can free you and me from the bondage of sin. When Jesus, many of the church fathers, they meditated on the cloth that by which the Lazarus was buried, and when Jesus told him, Lazarus, raise up from the dead and come out of the grave, and he told the people, take the cloth of death that he was wrapped by, take it out. Many of the church fathers saw that this cloth are the sins that we are wrapped by, we are enslaved with. So we can. They are not 10 steps or 7 steps, but he is a person. He is a person. And he is the person who is the focus of this Holy Week. I hope we live this Holy Week. We follow the readings, this environment, the things we do, the palms we are holding, the dark cloth we're going to be having, the dark signs we're going to be having all over the church as of tomorrow, the joyful tune for tomorrow morning, the sad tunes or the morning tunes that we're going to have for the Holy Week, and then the joyful tunes we're going to say on the resurrection feast and the Holy 50 days. Try to get into that. And with each event, ask for the freedom, the real freedom. The second thing is the love, or Mary and what she did. Mary, she didn't do anything. I mean, Martha, she was a woman of service. She's a great person. And she was serving with all her heart. I think it's like many of us who wants to do something, who wants to serve. Yes, we should serve. We need to change the world. I think changing the world is a big theme. You hear many people say, we can change the world. Yes, we can change the world. But before doing that, we want to go to the person who really changed the world. And Mary, we haven't heard that she did something that can change the world, except she gave Jesus her love. She went to buy something that's very expensive. And she bought fragrant oil and she poured him on him. And he considered that something that has an allusion to the anointing he will have for his death. She showed love. I was reading a book for Abuna Matta al-Miskin and Abuna Pshoy Kamel. He used to say, this week is the week of the pouring of the fragrant oil of love. We are coming to show our love to the one who loved us to the end. It touched me a lot, what St. John says in his Gospel on chapter 13. When Jesus told his disciples before washing their feet, he told them that when he knew that his hour is coming, and he loved his own to the end. To the end means to eternity. To the end means to the point of death. But he loved us to the end. And Mary showed through her love, or through the pouring of the fragrant oil, showed her love to Jesus Christ. Hopefully we are coming this Holy Week to show our love to him. To show our love to him. Again, when I was talking about 10 steps to do everything, 7 steps, 7 habits, 7 مش عارف ايه. We have a lot of those. We are very pragmatic. Our culture, that's how our minds are wired, are built. We need to do things. We need to be very, very practical. Life application, practical steps, very pragmatic. That's not bad. I'm not saying this is bad. But sometimes we need to show love. It's not just by doing something, but at least in our hearts, we feel committed to the one who died for us. This is what she did. And she was praised for that. And her story is kept telling, it's kept told or telling every year and every time this gospel is read. The fragrance of this, or the aroma of this incident or this action is smelt everywhere. And this is what we need to come and pour our love, our feelings, ourselves, to be committed to him. The third is Judas Iscariot. When he saw that, he said something that is very plausible, very logical. He said, why don't we sell that and give it to the poor? He was a thief. He wasn't caring for the poor. He wanted to take the money for himself. Yes, we know that. But even if someone said that just for the sake of the poor, and Jesus identified himself with the poor, he said, anything you do to the poor, you are doing it to me. And by the way, that's a big difference between someone helping the poor and someone helping the poor who are identified as brothers and sisters of Christ. That's a huge difference on the act of mercy and compassion. A Christian is doing acts of mercy and compassion out of the love of Christ and for the love of Christ. But there might be people who are doing acts of mercy. I'm not saying they are bad, but I'm saying these are not the ones that are given to Christ and kept as eternal credit that is kept in heaven. You remember the treasures in heaven that by which we began the Holy Land. The Holy Land is all about keeping treasures in heaven. So Judas Iscariot, I'm always struck every Vesper of the Palm Sunday by that comparison, by that difference, great, huge difference between the love of Mary and the betrayal of Judas. And remember, he didn't look bad. He said something that would be, yeah, that makes sense. Why don't we sell it and give it to the poor? But we need to love Christ and love everyone in Christ. What do we get from that? We need a life application. I'll try to give a life application instead of just saying stuff without a life application, because I know you love life application. I think the life application we have this week, this Holy Week, is to think of if we feel that we are enslaved by sin, we need to confess. It's not just to go and sit with Abuna and say some stuff or some sins, but hopefully you stand before God and tell him and search your heart and see what do you feel you are overcame by, what you feel under the bondage and the power of, and ask him to free you. And tell him, I love you as much as Mary loved you. And I know that you are life, and you are the one who can free me from the bondage of sin. Don't think of doing something, but just ask him to come and free you. And he can. And he can. And experience his power, not the power of 10 steps or 7 steps or anything else. This Holy Week, we hope, would be an experience of the power of God to free us from sin, to a change. And think of, why are you under the bondage of any sin? Because of fear, because you feel rejected, you don't feel that anyone would love you, because you want to feel safe and belonging to the great multitude, all the people are doing so and so. Think of why are you under the bondage of sin. A relationship, if there is a relationship that is hindering you from coming close to God, a bad habit, whatever. And ask for God, in this Holy Week, to be freed. To be freed. As Jesus, the one who overcame death for Lazarus and for himself, he can do it for you. But tell him that I love you as much as you loved me. And try not to do like Judas Iscariot, who just said good words, but the heart wasn't pure. And glory be to God forever, amen.